Welcome to ClickerBait. This is the first episode we're ever doing, sort of. It's the second. But we're finally going to recap that very first episode of The Last of Us HBO show. Let's get into it.
That's not a click.
Hello, welcome to ClickerBait.
Did you almost say jkgames podcast?
I almost did, unfortunately.
Hey, it's jkgames podcast adjacent, but this is episode 2 of ClickerBait, but episode 1 of The Last of Us that we're breaking down.
We still haven't really figured out our intro yet, so it's always weird doing one show for 3 years and then trying to do something new. But yeah, we're super excited. The last episode we did, we sort of just recapped everything we're looking forward to with the show coming to HBO. And if you are new to listening to us or watching us, we both have played The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 multiple times. Some of us. I know I have. And we were just like really excited to do this show because obviously with the episodes coming out every week, me and Kayla just don't have time to talk about everything, and we will talk nothing. It was going to be a Last of Us podcast anyways. jkgames was going to be.
It was going to be, yeah.
We would have done this show in that show.
We already did so much content anyway, which by the way, you can still go watch. Or watch/listen to, depending on how old it is, on our previous podcast, which I say previous, we're not getting rid of jkgames. We're just taking a little break.
It died. It got killed.
On this.
It got dumped into a fire pit because it was infected.
Hi, Chad in the chat. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. But again, like Jerica said, if this is your first time listening, I am one of your hosts, Kayla.
And I'm... think I have an infection.
Oh no.
If you see anything sprouting out of my mouth, tell Audrey so she can get out of the house. That's probably the first step. But yeah, I'm Jerica. I'm the other host. And today we're here to recap the very first episode of The Last of Us HBO series. Yes. Season 1.
Let's go.
That thing.
I just cannot contain myself, Jerica.
Well, you're gonna have to try. You're gonna have to try because we're trying to keep this show pretty organized and respectful of everyone's time. We're not gonna go on any tangents. I have my notes here recapping it all, and we even have some questions from some of you. I know if you follow jkgames podcast on any of the socials, you might have had an opportunity to ask us a few questions that you wanted answered on this episode.
Yeah. Keep doing that because we're gonna have the way that we're gonna lay our episodes out is different, of course, than jkgames. We are gonna go over a brief summary of the episode. So, of course, if you have not watched the first episode of The Last of Us on HBO, spoiler central. We're gonna go over the whole episode, but don't worry, we're not gonna spoil anything else that we know from the rest of the series. If for some reason it comes up in conversation, we'll make sure to throw up a spoiler wall. But I feel like we can look at it like neutrally, like, okay, what's different right now on this episode and like how the game has followed it. But yeah, we're gonna do a brief introduction, and then I think we said after that we're gonna do what we're gonna do, Jerica.
Well, the goal is to recap the episode, and of course answer any questions that we have received that you want answered on the show. Which will probably help us, have better conversation with each other because we will just keep rambling if we don't have structure. And then after that, we'll talk about we'll keep it simple. What did we like? What didn't we like? Obviously, we played the game, so in comparison to the games, what did we think about the episode? And of course, our favorite scenes from each episode each week.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what Jerica's is. I've told her what mine is, but I don't know what hers is. She teased it a little bit.
I did tease it a bit on the old twat. The Twitter.
Yeah.
That's what I call Twitter.
The twat. The twat. But also thank you guys so much for your support over this new journey. We're so excited, and you guys have just been like so supportive. Even like some people that I know, like in my personal life that haven't played The Last of Us are really excited to watch it and to like listen to us just because of us talking about it. So, because we won't shut up. So thank you for allowing us to have this outlet and actually listening and being involved.
Woo!
But, woo! With that being said, Jerica, take it away with the what happened this week on The Last of Us.
Oh, that's so great. I can't wait to do this every week for like 8 weeks. We get to do this 8 more times, Kayla. How cool.
Woo-hoo!
All right.
It seems
Well,
like
huh?
it seems like it's going to be in too soon.
I know. I'm just ready for them to announce season 2. But I digress. Let's get into it. So,
let's go.
Once again, very excited for the show. As soon as it came on, I was immediately just sort of like, is this real? Is this really happening? You know, the first scene is pretty much directly out of the game. Opens up, you are introduced to some of your key characters. You got Sarah, you got Joel, and pretty quickly, I think you get introduced to Joel's brother, Tommy.
Yeah,
he comes into the scene pretty fast. But it seems, it's Joel's birthday, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. And Sarah's just sort of like getting ready for school. I think they're having breakfast. I think that's the first bit that we see them talking to his daughter, I almost called her Kayla. Kayla, that's you. Sarah. And I think they're fixing pancakes or something, but they don't have any mix. We'll get to that later. It's pretty interesting detail. But out of the gate, it was really cool to hear Joel Pascal. That's what I'm going to call him from now. His little Austin Southern accent's really good. You know,
it's crazy.
We're from the South, so we like a good little country accent.
We love a good accent. He sounds great. Like this is just the recap portion. We'll get into like more of our thoughts after,
but yeah, it was pretty cool just to hear him. I'm like, oh my god, there's Joel. There he is talking. Yeah. So it looks like she's getting ready for school, and they're having breakfast, but they're having to hurry because I think Joel is he's a contractor. Yeah, and I think that's similar to the games too. He like does work, little jobs here and there. He's a good old blue collar gentleman that I think can fix your cabinets as well.
They can fix your cabinets.
I don't know. I forgot the job that he was trying to get, and his brother.
He's pretty busy.
Yeah, he's a busy guy. Looks like he's having to take care of his he's a only dad, single father, taking care of his daughter, and I guess they hurry out because they have a job to do, and Tommy comes in, and they're sort of going back and forth with one another, and I guess they're just sort of hurrying out. Sarah's left there. They're going to a job, to fix some cabinets. I don't remember what they're going to fix. They have some job. So they leave, and then Sarah like goes to Joel's bedroom, I believe, and pulls out a drawer, grabs some money and a watch. Which you'll have to. It's sad because I have just played the first game again, and I cannot remember for sure if he already had a watch or was it broken, was it new? I don't remember. But in the TV show, it does appear that it has quit working, and he keeps it in a drawer. So she gets the watch out. I guess the thought process here is she's gonna get it fixed for him. She goes to school, or no, I forget. She rides with them. This is my first time doing a recap. I don't have all the notes.
She rides with them.
So I remember the neighbors.
They drop her off at school.
No.
Yeah, the neighbors say
hello. Neighbors, important tidbit. They're out there just sitting in some. This is, like I said, me and Kayla are from the South, not from Texas, but I could just see like walking outside, and you look to your left, and some neighbors eating some biscuits, and just like, hey,
you want some biscuits?
You want some biscuits? And they're like, no, thank you. We gotta get going, gotta go to school and stuff. So they wave at the Adlers, their neighbors, and they get in the truck and head off to whatever they're doing, fixing cabinets and going to school. So I thought it was really cool too, because they actually show like Sarah's whole day, which you don't get in the game. So she goes to school, learns some stuff, and then I wrote this down. There's a little scene that was a little interesting. She looks up at another student, and they twitch a little bit. Their hands are like twitches. I don't know if you remember catching that.
I did see that, yeah.
And she just like stares at the kid for a second, then I guess, just an afterthought. And then school lets out. She goes into the city, gets on the bus, goes in the city, Austin, and I don't know about Austin too much, but that looked like a quaint little downtown area. Maybe not hustling and bustling like big downtown, but it's like a little mom and pop shop, and it's I guess clocks. I remember seeing a lot of clocks on the wall, so I guess they fix time. And she gives the money to the guy to fix Joel's watch for his birthday. In the middle of all that, too, like throughout the day, there's been like police vehicles running around. I think, the news has been circulating like something's happening overseas. I can't remember exactly. Like,
yeah, the radio was playing when they were about to leave, and you could hear them starting to talk about an outbreak of sorts. But at this point they think it's not even in the country at this point.
Yeah.
Then when she's at the watch or the clock shop is when the wife storms in. It's like, you've got to get out of here. Like, we got to go.
Yeah, get out of here. We're closed. And the guy's like, we don't close right now. And she's like, yeah, we do. Is this serious?
Yeah.
And you sort of see it on Sarah's face that she's like, oh shit, something's about to go down. Let me get home. Should I be worried? I don't know.
Sees all the cops and the ambulances. Ooh.
Yeah. And then I guess it goes to them getting it home. You have to sort of help my memory here, but when they get home, I guess she's waiting for Joel to get home. Oh, I remember. He was supposed to be home by a certain hour to celebrate his birthday, have some cake.
He was not.
He was late. Slipped. I guess he lost track of time. Working on those cabinets.
Lost track of time.
Oh,
he didn't have his watch.
Exactly. God, should have got that fixed a long time ago. They could have had cake.
But this is one of the scenes that was terrifying. Is when she goes over the neighbor's house and Granny's acting a little weird.
Oh, before you get to that though, because they have their moment that's directly from the game that I wanted to highlight real quick, because they're sitting on the couch and she presents the watch, right? Or am I jumping ahead?
No,
you're right.
Ahead.
Nope.
Wait.
Nope.
No.
We skipped a whole afternoon adventure, Kayla. This is why I have notes. And I literally had here in my notes Siri's talking.
Oh no.
Did you hear that? Siri's talking. Stop, Siri. No, but she has to help the neighbors with some baking of the cookies. Oh, the people with the biscuits. They were like, oh, you should come over. I guess she helps the Adlers out a lot. Goes over there and spends time with the family. And she agrees to go over there and bake some cookies as well. Sorry, this was before they got home with Joel. They bake the cookies, and then, yeah, the grandma is a little creepy sitting in the corner. She has, what was it? Yeah, 3 nails plus 1 cross equals 4 given, right? Was it? Never heard of that.
Okay.
Never heard of that saying. Kayla, have you heard that saying?
Yeah,
I have not heard it before.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So she's like baking cookies, and grandma's in the wheelchair in the corner, just jerking around, but Sarah doesn't see it because she is looking at she's not baking cookies, looking at the shelf of DVDs and browsing, and finds, this is an Easter egg from the game, was it Something in Viper, Curtis and Viper 2?
Yeah.
A movie that Joel will like. So she picks that movie out and asks to borrow it.
Chad, you're right. That woman, Jesus and raisin cookies, that's sinful right there. Raisin cookies, sins. Full of sins.
So, man. I guess, yeah, and Sarah doesn't eat the cookies because they're raisin cookies and not chocolate chip cookies. I remember her saying that.
She's like, ooh.
So they bake the cookies. They hang out with the creepy old lady in the wheelchair that starts twitching around. She's got something going on with her that's unsettling. She's like, all right, cool. That was fun making cookies, but I gotta go. And that's what I meant to say before we got to the part where they sit on the couch and she presents the watch to Joel once he gets home.
A nice moment.
And it was pretty sweet. That was directly... most scenes that we observed today or during that episode were from the game, and I'm not going to complain about it. But she fixed the watch and he asked, like, how did you pay for this? What did you do? And she's like, I sell drugs, hardcore drugs. And I was like, oh, it's from the game. It's so good. And it just sort of gives you a little glimpse into like the
Their
humor and the sort of laid backness to it all with them two. All right, so she gives the watch to him. He's got a working watch now, so hopefully he'll never lose track of time.
You thought?
Yeah. And I guess she falls asleep. They go to sleep watching the movie that she got from the neighbor's house, and Joel puts her to bed, goes to sleep. And I did notice too on the clock beside her bed, it was 11 o'clock when she laid her down, and then about 3 hours later, and my monitor just it's back. Sorry, my monitor went.
Joel got
black.
A call from Tommy.
Yeah, Joel got a call from
jail.
Thank you. Yes, sorry, my screen went black for some reason.
Oh no.
But it's back. 2 hours passed, but in between that time, Joel got a call from Tommy, which this was unique. He was got put in jail. And he also mentioned it wasn't his fault this time, but please, can you come bail me out? Which I thought was pretty entertaining. And just, it seems that maybe Joel has to take care of Tommy a lot. He gets into some brawls, I guess.
That was new, right? I don't think that was in the game.
Yeah, I don't think that was in the game. I don't remember that. Anyways, he says he's been in a bar fight. Wasn't his fault. He needs Joel to come bail him out. And he's like, okay. So Joel leaves, and within those 2 hours, he's gone, but Sarah's awoken to sirens, bright lights outside, and I put in my notes, all hell breaks loose. So
yeah, and what's crazy is like the TV, like she turns on the TV and it says shelter in place, like do not leave. Yeah, and of course she walks out the door.
Well, the dog was like, banging on the glass, like, please let me in, or like, hey, the dog knew it was up, by the way, because the dog was also the Adler's dog, and the dog was like definitely like looking at that lady in the wheelchair, like, Nana's sus.
Nana is sus.
Something's not right with her. She don't twitch like that normally.
Smells like fungus.
She smells like fungus. Ew.
Ew.
Good to know the dogs can sense the cordyceps, because we have a dog, and if it ever happens in real life, I want the dogs to tell us. Yeah, we'll listen to the dogs.
Otto starts sniffing around.
Yeah, they can smell it.
Concerned.
So yeah, Sarah, it's the Adler's dog that's out, so she's like trying to get the dog back to the Adlers. She knows the door's open and is like, oh, that's weird. And the dog is like, no. She's like trying to drag the dog back in the house.
Yeah, back home, yeah.
It like breaks free and starts running away. Gets the hell out of there. And I guess she thought, it's sort of weird that their door is open. So Sarah goes to investigate.
Like me.
I can definitely tell, like, Sarah's character, super nice girl, likes to make people happy, trying to do the right thing. And just wants to make sure these people are okay. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But she did.
No. No, not me.
So she goes inside the house, steps in. I think she actually steps in some blood. Or there's some blood on the floor. And she's like, proceeds to go through the house and sees Mr. Adler against the door. He has been bit. And you hear, help me. I think that's what he says. And I'm just like...
And you see our first ravenous infested. And boy, it was terrifying!
Yep, I didn't expect this show to creep me out as bad as it did. It definitely was unnerving. You turn to the right, and Sarah sees Grandma Nana Adler, little lady that had some problems earlier today. Well, those problems have evolved, and now she has this fungus. Looks like grass. Strands mushroom things coming out of her mouth, and I paid attention because I watched the episode again, and it's going into that person's ear. I guess it's the other Adler woman, other family member. It's like going in her ear to infest her. Infest.
Yeah.
Is it infest? Infect.
I don't really know,
because it's sort of an infestation. I don't know.
We'll have to, after this, we'll discuss, but we did forget to mention the additional scene that got put in the very beginning, which is wild and brand new. But we can talk about that later.
We totally just left that out. We're a great podcast, I promise.
Yeah. It will come up because it's in something I want to talk about later.
Okay.
It's in a question.
Yeah. All right, cool. So she immediately was like, I'm getting out of here. Sees that, I would too. So she exits the house, and then perfect timing, Joel and Tommy show up in the truck, and Joel's like, get the truck. And she's like, okay. But as she's trying to get into the truck, Grandma Adler is coming out of the house, sort of falls, trips, and immediately gets back up. She's like 90. So obviously something's up because she sprints towards them, and Joel is forced to hit her with a wrench.
We got our first confirmed kill.
Yep, and
well, because Tommy shoots him, and then she gets back up.
I forgot that. Yeah, she did take a bullet and still got up and started sprinting, which
seems sus.
Very good clicker run. Yes, they are sticking to the source material. Like, it looked like something that would chase you from the game. And
my clicker shirt.
Oh yeah, there it is. And even the I forgot what they called the things with those strands are called. Anyways. But yeah, Sarah has to witness Joel kill Ms. Adler. So that was pretty
first confirmed kill.
Pretty terrifying to her. She's shook up. I'm shook up, but I know it's about to happen. I'm like, God, this is nerve-wracking. But we can't focus on that. We have to get in the truck and get out of here.
Clicky spaghetti. Got it.
Clicky spaghetti. Yep.
Got it.
Watch out for that stuff. Don't want it in your ears. So they get in the truck and they're like, let's just go on. And immediately Sarah's like started like trying to theorize. They're in the truck. She's trying to figure out like what's happening. How's it spreading? Are we infected? She even asked like, do we have it? And Joel's just like, no, we're fine. We're fine. Like, just doesn't want to really talk about it. He just wants to tell her it's fine. Don't look at anything. Just, and then Tommy is, because I believe Tommy's the one that was in the military, right? Because there's I remember seeing a sticker on the truck, veteran. And Tommy's, I think he was the one that mentioned, is it, terrorists? I can't remember if it was him. Or maybe she asked, is it terrorists? And he's like, I don't know. I don't think so. Anyways, it's pretty unclear what's happening. The people on the news are freaking out. Everyone's freaking out. They just want to get out of Austin. So they're driving and staying true to the game. There's a house on fire. I forgot the name of the neighbor. And they're like, oh, that's just something's house. Oh, no. Help me.
Yeah, and that scene was, I don't remember what the name of the house. Jimmy's house.
We'll say Jimmy's house. Was that it? Yeah, I think that was it. So. Yeah.
And it's like scene for scene, the game of them driving by this house on fire. And it is wild. And it looks so good.
And I guess they keep driving, trying to get on the interstate to get out of Dodge. And unfortunately, it's back to back, bumper to bumper traffic. Can't get out of here. Everyone had the same idea. So they cut through a field, trying to go another way to get out of town. And with the military being there, they have also taken up this whole other road. All these tanks and other military vehicles. So, I guess they are obviously familiar with their town, so they're like, we're gonna cut through this way, get out this way, we'll take a shortcut to get out of here and go to I think Joel says Mexico, like as far as possible.
Yeah, they're just trying to get anywhere, honestly, and are intercepted, unfortunately.
So they join through or they go through another very cute downtown area, like a place I want to go and have ice cream and go see a movie. Seems like a lot of other people had this idea as they were trying to evacuate. I just remember as soon as you get into town, you see all these like airplanes, like I don't know if they're like all emergency landing, like trying like in a row. So I don't know if they were trying to land like on the street or get to the airport. I don't know how close they were, but it's just chaos. There's people running in the streets. I just remember seeing this big group of people like running out of the theater. You can sort of like pinpoint to what people are infected that are sort of like running around biting people. You see a little bit of that.
But it's chaos, and like it feels that way. Like they really do a good job of like eliciting that feeling. Like, oh, this is terrifying and very tense.
Yeah, in the truck the whole time.
What's gonna happen?
In the truck the whole time, you just feel like you're a passenger as well, and looking around and just making sure like nothing's like climbing on the vehicle or you're like not gonna get hit by another car. But unfortunately, they're unable to drive any further because a plane decides to crash in the middle of the street, and like they were gonna back up, and then they have to go forward because they turn around and they see this, big
Gigantic airplane crash.
Boeing
Yeah.
like coming in and crash.
Yeah.
And a big chunk of something flies once soon as it hits the ground, and it like they're probably a good, I'm really bad with distance, like a mile away from the plane. Maybe not, maybe half a mile.
The shrapnel still knocks them crazy.
Knocks the truck, or the vehicle. I don't know what happens, but it goes to a blackout. And then they awaken, and the car has been flipped, I think. The car actually got flipped. The truck did.
Yeah.
Tommy got out, and Joel and Sarah are struggling to get out. I think Sarah like hurt her ankle, but they both get out, and she can't walk. And then they're separated because I think Tommy was on the other side. Another truck like hits their truck, and they get separated because there's obviously fire, and you don't want to walk through fire.
Yeah, you can see that he's okay, but like Tommy's basically just like go, go, go. And then everyone who has played the game already knows
what's next.
What's going down.
So this is our first place that we see, another infected with their, what do we call it? The clicky spaghetti coming out of their mouth, and starts chasing Joel and Sarah. He has to pick her up because she can't walk. So he's got her in his arms, like running away.
It's fast.
Gets
really fast.
Gets outside of this building, and then they're stopped by a soldier. And this is the scene that gets really sad. The soldier's just like on the radio saying, "Hey, I got some civilians here." I'm not quoting him correctly, and it's basically asking like, "What do you want me to do with them?" And Joel's like, "We're not infected. We're not sick. We're just trying to get out of town." And it seems, I wish they would have added this from the game. I'm trying not to get on a tangent, but a little different from the game. But basically, he gets orders to kill them, shoot them on sight, and the military guy does that, shoots them, and Joel and Sarah roll down a hill. We get to the point where
Tommy comes in.
We cry again. This is the millionth time that this will make me cry again. A whole other different level of emotion. Pascal did an amazing job here. What's her face played Sarah, did an amazing job because it made me feel really sad that she hurt her ankle and then was just like crying and sobbing, just like in so much pain. And when he like
sorry, hi Jonah in the chat. And then also Josh, you did not miss our theory. After we finish our recap, which we're about to wrap up in a little while, we'll talk about questions, and that is one of the questions, and we will discuss it soon.
Yes. Sorry. Basically, she dies. Sorry, that was a really bad transition.
It's bad.
It's so bad. It's sad. Like she just it made me feel so bad because she like couldn't walk either, and now she's been shot, and she like is just struggling to breathe, and he's picking her up, and it's like hurting her so bad. Just he wants to pick her up and take her to safety so bad, but he can't. And it just hurts her more. And like literally he looks over to Tommy, like, "Help me." And in that moment she has already died. So wow.
And I think it just goes
we're through the first 30 minutes, I think.
Yeah, Joel is trying. You're already seeing his personality, and like he just wants to persevere, and like he's just trying to make it through. Man, yeah, rough.
All right, I think
we get a nice cut.
Yep, bloop. 20 years later. And we didn't even talk about like the game starts at a different year than from the video games.
Yeah.
2003. Is that what it was? 2003?
Yes. So you start in 2003 in the show. And then we get a cut that just says 20 years later, which it is 2023. But I don't remember the exact year that the game starts, but I believe it's still a 20-year jump. It's just the 20 years does not land you in the same spot as it does now.
Yeah.
But that makes, I did some math, and that makes Joel in the jump, it makes him 56, which I thought he was younger than that. I don't know why. But, yeah, the second half, do you want me to do the second half?
Yeah, go ahead. Pick it up.
So essentially you are cutting to, and you feel free to jump in if I miss something.
It was a little kid,
Uh,
right? That was threw me
yeah,
off
so
a little bit.
you're following this little I think it's a little boy, and you essentially are following him, and he happens upon this old, like, abandoned looking city, but he goes in the gates, and you see that he's greeted by some officers, and they have him strapped in this chair. They're doing what seemed to be little,
Oh,
like, tests.
and I took a picture of this. I thought this was interesting because you can see him when they have him strapped in the chair. There's a sign up on the wall that's basically, you might have made a note of this and you're like, Jericho, I was going to get to it. There's a little picture of like how long does it take for an infection to set in based on the location of your bite.
Yeah.
And number one, like if anywhere neck, face, or head, 5 to 15 minutes before you're like taken over. Torso, arm, shoulder, or hand, 2 to 8 hours. And then if you're bitten on the leg or the foot, 12 to 24 hours. So
I did see that, but I couldn't remember exactly what it said. Josh in the chat said, I thought that was young Ellie. I kind of did think that for a second as well. That the little kid was like a young Ellie. But yeah, essentially you're watching Fedra, which is the like military essentially organization that's trying to keep peace in this new city that we're seeing that has evolved.
It's Boston.
And it is Boston.
Boston.
Yeah. And so she's trying to comfort him, like, yeah, you know, you're gonna get all the toys, you're gonna get food, and you see this soldier like kind of put a little needle in your arm, like, yeah, he's not gonna.
He tested positive to being infected. So
yeah,
I thought that was at least, you know, they're gonna do it. It was at least they were nice about it.
I mean, yeah, if you think about it, like that's probably the most humane way. Which it's interesting. We'll get into obviously theories later, but then you're kind of just seeing some overview shots of like what this city looks like now, how it's kind of dilapidated. I don't know the exact word.
Both.
You know what I'm talking
I think
about.
it's both.
And so then you're seeing some shots of Joel, a much older Joel. It's got some gray going on. I think that they get his outfits so perfect. Like he looks so good.
I actually have like a quick little I'll pull this up real quick.
Yeah.
Pulled some screenshots from this IGN post that compares the game to the show. There's a clip. Yeah, sorry, keep talking.
And then we kind of see him just kind of like doing jobs in this new city, essentially. Like he's helping offload some bodies, which is really sad. And just a little moment that I think is interesting is like when him and this, because he's not with Tess yet. There's a different lady helping him unload these bodies. And she looks down at the kid's body and she's like, I can't do it. And Joel says nothing and just picks up the body and throws it.
Like, well, Joel has no issues doing that. I thought
and
there was
he's just
by the
trauma.
way, I thought there was a picture of him in his current outfit in Boston, but there's not. So
that's okay.
I'll come back to this here in a minute.
Trauma. Our man's been through it already. And it's episode 1.
He feels nothing.
Nope. And so then you are seeing him. Now, I don't think I missed anything from this point. He connects up with an officer. Or do we meet Tess before this?
I don't think so. It doesn't matter. It's somewhere around there.
He links up with this officer, and you can tell there's some deals going on.
He's selling drugs.
He's selling drugs, and you know you're learning about the way that this city's set up. I'm sure it's hard to get stuff in this place.
They like have ration cards for things. I think it's like for different cards to get certain things.
Yeah. So you meet this guy, and you see the deal and he's talking about like wanting to get out essentially. And you're not really sure why yet. But he's wanting to get out, trying to find this car battery. And then you cut to this lady who is Tess, and you see her interacting with this guy, and she's been beat up. And I don't remember exactly why she got beat up. Do you remember?
What's his face's guys beat her up. There was a, what do you call that word? A squabble? Is it a squabble?
There was a misunderstanding. And then essentially they're discussing, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's just a misunderstanding," because they're just gonna kill her over this misunderstanding. They're like, "Oh well, we can't handle like the like retribution that your people are going to take on our people. And then the whole
Basically,
thing
the
blows
dude,
up.
yeah, and the dude's like really freaked out about Joel. Like, if Joel finds out,
Yeah.
if your dude finds out, he's gonna come kill me.
Yeah, basically. So then it blows up.
The
And then
fireflies.
she,
I think the fireflies
yeah,
had a little bomby bomb go
yeah,
off.
yeah, a little bomby bomb. And then we see them meet back up, and we get a little confirmed romance. I
Yeah.
feel
Well,
like. Joel.
anytime Joel's the little spoon, there's definitely some love there because I feel like Joel wouldn't just roll over and be the little spoon. So there's something going on between these two.
Yeah.
She just hops in the bed with him and she curls over
Which
him.
we'll talk about this later, but we don't get that in the game.
Yeah.
So essentially, then from there, they're trying to get out of the city. They're trying to get this car battery so they can go, and they're trying to do anything that they can to get there. Then you flash, and we see this girl who is Ellie, and we get to see our first shot of Ellie, and she's dropping F-bombs. She's in
chained
there.
up.
She's you can tell that they're testing her and trying to figure out
She's
if she is
pissed
infected.
off, and she's pissed off
she's
about it.
mad.
She doesn't understand what the hell's happening.
Yeah. So that is really cool. And essentially she's like, screw you guys, I'm fine. And we cut to Marlene, who we get interactions with, and she looks awesome. I did not realize that her physical actor is the same voice actor that she has.
Yes.
In the game, which is awesome, and she does a great job. But basically, Marlene and Ellie make friends.
Well, little
Marlene.
tidbit there.
Yes.
So, and I think you might be getting to it. And I'm sorry if I'm.
Oh no, tell me.
Okay, yeah. So she goes up to Ellie, and Ellie's like, or she was like, "Okay, Veronica," because I guess Ellie's been using like a fake name.
Yeah.
And Marlene knows Ellie because they have a little back and forth, and basically just say, which Ellie doesn't really know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like she doesn't really know Marlene, but Marlene is trying to say that she knows her. And
yes,
she's the reason
she's talking about she got put in the school.
Yeah, and she's the reason that she put her in military school after her mom died, basically. And she's like, what'd she say? Like something.
Are you my mom?
Are you my mom? Like, obviously not.
Do I look like your mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they have that back and forth and sort of just like trying to get her to open up and be okay for being locked up and trying to understand what's happening. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah. And so she tries to like build some trust and like let her know that she has her best interests at heart. And again, no spoilers, which it does come up later, but she essentially explains to her that they need to transport her somewhere else. And that it's important and she doesn't need to share why to anybody. And so then I'm sure there's like some stuff in between that I'm missing, but the next big thing is that there is a meetup between. So you flash back to Tess and Joel trying to get access to this car battery because essentially
they're trying to get
it sold to somebody else.
Yeah, their goal is to get out of town. And little you might have this note too, but I thought it was interesting that he is trying to meet back up with Tommy. They went to this like Joel goes to this like communication shop. Basically, if you're trying to reach out to somebody, the tower, this guy can like send out messages and like listen in to radio frequencies and see if they hear back from people maybe you're looking for, loved ones or whatever. And Joel, I guess, has this partnership with him to like help him communicate with Tommy. And it has been 3 weeks since he's heard from Tommy. I don't know if you could tell from this episode, I don't know if they've had like beef or something, a misunderstanding, but it's been a while that he's heard from him and he's concerned, I guess so concerned that he's wanting to get the truck and the battery to go check on him in Wyoming, which he learns where he's at.
Yeah. So a long trek, especially in a post-apocalyptic world here. So basically they are trying to figure out where the guy Robert we were talking about earlier that his people attacked Tess. They're trying to figure out who he ended up selling the car battery to, which, you guessed it, is the Fireflies, which is the group. And you see some shots of them discussing. It's essentially a rebellion group against Fedra, which is the organization that is trying to keep peace, and keep everybody contained to try to not spread the infection. But fireflies are the ones that are kind of like rebelling against that. And I like the little comment where there's like, it's not a rebellion if, oh gosh, I forget what it was exactly. But basically saying like, we haven't accomplished anything, so we're not a rebellion. They kind of.
Oh yeah, that was a good line. I enjoyed that.
I forget the exact wording. Dang. But so they meet up, and you get the first Ellie and Joel meet up where she comes at him with a knife, and he just like kicks her.
Her little switchblade, yeah. He like tosses her. He tosses her into a wall. It was great. She's so like, almost like she's just almost animalistic because she's on the ground. She's like, ugh, looking up at him, and he's got the gun pointed at her. And Marlene's like, cool your shit, Joel. And you better be pointing that gun at me, not her. So
yeah, and so you definitely get the sense that Marlene and Joel know each other, because I'm assuming, and they don't really explain, but I'm assuming it's because of the dealings that they both have, like where they're trying to get access to things outside of this. Because again, the city that they're in, Boston, it's like walled and mandated. Like you have to have permission to leave, and you can't really leave without like specific reasons. Which we didn't really explain that, but I'm sure if you watched it, you saw that or could gather that. But so then Marlene was injured. So something happened we didn't see. I believe the squabble that they had happen. But Marlene is injured, and she's like, "Hey, I need the car battery." They're arguing over who needs the car battery more, which is interesting. Oh, we'll talk about that later about the differences. But they're squabbling over who's going to get the car battery, and like she said, I need the car battery to take her. I need to take her west, I believe.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Well, why don't you just take her?" And Joel's immediately like, "Absolutely not gonna happen. Not taking her. You can
we don't travel with people. We don't
smuggle people."
That's it.
Which is funny if you know him from The Mandalorian, where he is a bounty hunter, and it's just interesting. So then we kind of, there's some discussion and some back and forth. Basically, Tess and Joel agree to take her.
Yeah, because Marlene had like an injury. Like she actually hurries them. She's like, by the way, you need to make a decision because I'm bleeding out here. Come on.
Yeah.
And then she looks. I don't know if you made a note of this, but when she looked at the friend, the friend was like, the other Firefly lady was like, I can take her, and she's like, you're missing an ear. No, you can't. Something that, what did she say about the ear missing?
Oh yeah, she said, yeah, you're missing your ears, or like, she said, listen out, and she's like, I will, and she's like, you're missing your ears. She's like, shit. And she's missing like both of her ears. Are, like,
and, the ear is like blown off. So yeah, I thought that was funny.
So that was funny. I think her name was Kate.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, so they agree, and they take Ellie back, and Ellie's very disgruntled. You can tell she's not enjoying being shipped around.
Yeah.
And you start to get bits of like how clever she is.
Yeah, she's super sneaky too. Like,
they drop her off in the apartment, and she's already snooping around. She finds like the code that they use
on the radio, because like Bill and Frank? Yeah, they use music to sort of relay communications and like warnings and stuff, and she goes through the book and like figures out almost everything except the last thing. And she actually, the back and forth she has with Joel when he comes back to the apartment, he takes a nap or whatever, and she actually wakes him up, and this is from the game. She's like, you mumble in your sleep, and he's like, and then she just like talks about like not being outside of the city walls. Have you ever been out there? And then she's like, oh yeah, and something played on the radio. Was it Before You Go? Oh, she's like, something.
Yeah, Before You Go.
And he's like, oh, and he like wakes up and like, or he gets out of the chair like ready to go, and she's like, aha, means there's danger.
Can't remember. Said 80s means trouble.
80s means trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
She's like, aha, figured it out.
But yeah, it's definitely interesting because she talks about, again, like she's never been outside of the wall, so she was born essentially in this. And so then you are following Tess and Joel as they are getting her out, and trying to sneak through. And it's so funny because, again, no spoilers, but like it just such a future foreshadowing to how her progression goes, because you can tell she doesn't really know what's going. She's not being inconspicuous at all. At first, she's just like, "Oh shit, we're
Yeah.
outside."
Yeah.
And Tessa's like, "Shut up!" Like,
that was it. That was
and so
that was exactly from the episode.
yeah, that was it. Shut up. And so then we are following them getting out and trying to sneak around the light beams, which again, that from the game is difficult, trying to sneak around the light beams.
Yeah.
And so then we run into, well, who guessed it, the officer from earlier that Joel was making some little drug deals
Selling
with.
him some drugs. He's
And we run
peeing.
into him.
He was
He's
peeing on the
peeing.
wall. They could have
Yep.
easily snuck up behind him while he was peeing on the wall, you know?
And this is an interesting moment for sure. Because you can tell is trying to do his job and like trying to make sure that they're authorized to leave, which he already kind of knows they're not. And you can see Joel's wheels turning on how to get out of this situation, and he tries to talk his way out. But you also see that Joel's having a little PTSD moment, because it is a very similar situation that he was in with Sarah, where he was trying to talking to the officer, and you kind of see him have a little moment, kind of like detach a little bit, which they talk about inside the episode after, which is really cool. And so the officer essentially starts scanning them to see if they're authorized to leave, and of course they are not. But they scan Ellie,
yeah.
and
well, we don't. It doesn't get revealed, because as soon as he scans her, she knows what's about to happen. So she stabs him with her switchblade, and so immediately, points the gun at her, and then Joel's automatically like triggered. You see what's really cool, and what excites me most is you get to see a parallel of Joel's thoughts. Like immediately, this situation reminds him what happened with Sarah. And he is overcome with, I'm not gonna let this happen again. And he like just tackles the dude and starts beating the crap out of him and beats him to death. As Tess and Ellie are just sort of like observing and watching.
But you see Ellie in the background going.
Yeah, she's
kind of like,
she's excited by it. That's what they say.
Yeah.
She's like looking at him like just amazed. And he turns around and looks at her. It's just sort of like, okay.
I thought about the TikTok sound. He looks at me, and I look at him, and he looks at me.
Yeah,
and I look at him.
That's what happened, and they're like, "All right." And then Tess immediately like sees the scanner and is like, "Joel, she's infected." And you hear Ellie say, "No, I'm not. This is 3 weeks old. Have you seen a bite that looks like this in 3 weeks? Like, I'm fine." And
you can see that she's bitten.
Yeah, you see that she's been bit. It's healed, and I guess before more reinforcements come, they're like, all right, well, we got to get out of here, because they have done it now. They cannot go back. And they cut through the fence and they leave Boston, or the settlement, and looks like they're going towards downtown Boston, if I'm not mistaken. See the buildings, and one of my favorite shots from the show so far, it pans out and you see a clicker up on the building, and it sort of does its little thing on the building, and it goes to credits. That was the first episode. Woo! We were able to recap that in 51 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So maybe we don't
condense it more.
Technically, this episode was one of the longest ones that it will have, I believe. It was like 80 minutes long. So
yes,
hopefully the next recaps won't be as long. And thank you for staying with us. That was our first recap ever we've done on a show. So we did it. Now, let's get into some of the questions that y'all have had. Let's see. What do we have?
Yeah. So thank you guys if you've stuck around. Thank you so much.
Maybe do it differently next time. I don't know, but
we're testing out. We're new,
testing some water. We're putting our toes in this water to see if it's warm or not.
Yeah. But it's always fun to do a nice recap. I love listening to recaps, especially like from people that I like to hear their opinions. Just to kind of refresh me, and talking about it has been nice and kind of will prepare me for our next episode. But one of the first questions we have is from our friend Chad Michael Ennis. And he asked a couple of different questions. If I can find them, dang. I should have screenshot them on our Twitter, but we're going to get there. So, first question from our listener is, what about the first episode surprised you? I think that we could probably use this opportunity to talk about that first scene. That was the opening scene. You open to 1968 is the year. And this, I was like, what is happening? Because this is definitely not in the game. And you get a flashback to the start of the pandemic. Or actually, it hasn't started yet. Not the start of the pandemic.
It was basically like it was like a conversation with like some scientists on ABC talking about just different illnesses and like what could, really mess up the human race. And they were just talking about different types of infection. And this one guy's like, something we're not talking about enough is like fungus and how deadly that could be if it were to evolve. I think they were talking about the earth was like what? Like it's too hot? Like it's the temperature is too warm for the...
Yeah, well, essentially what they were saying is that fungus couldn't live in a human unless it was, like, the fungus dies when it's over 94 degrees. Or something like that. I'm no scientist, but they were talking about, the world's getting warmer, so that I think that what they were trying to allude to is that the body temperature would lower or raise, whichever the term was. But I thought that was fascinating, and that surprised me, because in the game, you don't really get much explanation. You don't really get much explanation for what has caused the outbreak. Jerica's going to check on Audrey. So you don't get any really explanation of what happened. Okay, Josh in the chat, Aravi said not to be too spooky, but the thing they're talking about in 1968 literally has started to happen recently. Fungus has started to adapt to the human body temperature and create new disease and infection. Wow. Okay. So I just read Josh's comment in the chat, Jerica.
Which I was literally just thinking, because I was like, man, the way they were talking about it just really, it seems super realistic, and I don't want to look up any other facts because it might freak me out.
Yeah. So that was my most surprising aspect, I think. Because I was obviously very excited for this, so I expected it to be high quality. I will say it blew like my expectations, even like how good it looked. But yeah, the most surprising thing for me was them adding that in the very beginning and kind of giving the pre-conversation of like how this could have happened, which is really cool to see play out through the rest of the episode, how you can see that it looks like mushrooms and like fungus growing. And especially when you see like the clicker or like the infected that stuck to the wall in that one scene, where you can see that it's like sprouted, and I think they said like this one's done, right? Like this one's done.
Yeah.
Because you can tell, like, obviously in some of the earlier scenes, you can see that the people look fairly normal. They're just like crazy. But that did not look like a normal person. So you can kind of put two together and see the evolution there. But Jerica, what was the most surprising thing for you in this episode?
I agree with you. Like that opening shot, I love the fact they're spending that much time on trying to, because you think about it, you're watching the show. I like to think if I've never played the games, what would I need to really get into the story? And I think just like a way to separate the normal zombies that we see in a lot of movies and TV shows. Like I just, I had a lot of people say, is this going to be another Walking Dead show? And I'm like, no, it's definitely different. And even for me, I've always known The Last of Us is different than any other, like, it's a different type of zombie. Like, I don't think about zombies in The Last of Us, oddly enough.
It's different.
And the fact they are spending more time to, like, explain, like, what makes this different than other zombies and, like, I guess adaptations we've seen, like, with undead, like, dying and coming back. Like, this is something... And the way they explain it, to Josh's point, seems really spooky because it could be real. Like, we've obviously have never seen someone die and come back to life that I'm aware of. But a fungal infection this really happens with ants. Like this is something that does happen in real life. So just to be able to see them go in deeper into how everything's starting and how the infection like actually works is pretty surprising.
And I think it's cool that they also don't over explain it, you know? Like they don't.
But I really want them to, because I was really interested. Like I was like, I've never thought about even playing the games. I never thought about it like this. So the show's already like adding another layer to something that I didn't think I needed with The Last of Us, but it actually makes it different. It separates it from the other zombie stories that are out there. So
so the next question from him is, what change has been your favorite so far? I don't know. I like that they give you Sarah's day, like you were talking about. That gives a little bit more context, because don't in the game you start like right when she wakes up, or no? I don't remember the exact starting point, unfortunately.
Now that we're watching the show, I don't remember either. I feel like we started like in their home, like definitely like the night of like his birthday with the watch, like that happened.
And another thing that I liked, I'm trying to think of the major changes. Really, in this first episode, there hasn't been many major changes aside from that scene we just talked about. Some minor ones that actually Audrey pointed out was that it wasn't a car battery, it was guns. It was transporting like a load of guns, right?
Yeah.
I think that's just kind of like a minor thing, which is interesting.
And I was sort of bummed that we didn't get to see, now that that's sort of like helping me remember, the whole, what's the guy's name? Like we didn't get to see that initial shootout like between him, Tess, and Joel. Like
Robert?
like them, like, you know, they actually go and like beat him up. I think like I think Tess actually kills him. I can't remember. But you don't really get to see Tess do any fighting yet, and you sort of got a little bit of just to see how much of a badass she was like in the game a little bit. And then obviously it's not really a change, but I will say like I was a little bit bummed that we didn't get more of prequel story like with Sarah and Joel. And not that I don't know if we really needed it, but I was sort of expecting that, but it went by so fast. Like they jumped in straight away, which I can understand. The first episode needs to be gripping and like really wants you like engaged the whole episode. So I can see like why they didn't do it, but yeah, sorry, I'm rambling now. What's the next question?
What was the scariest runner?
I would say, was it Miss Adler? Yeah,
she was really creepy.
There's just something with little old ladies that are just already sort of creepy, that are just like have to be hand-fed biscuits and just stare at you, already really creepy. And to have fungus coming out of their spaghetti, clicky spaghetti coming out of their mouth was like, that was terrifying and shocking. Because I didn't expect that, because that wasn't in the game. Scary. It was scary.
That's a good change. That was probably a good change too.
Oh yeah.
I agree. That's my answer too. Important question. Hottest character this episode.
Oh man. Tess. For me.
Yeah.
Just seeing what's her face with an eye, sort of, was it a black eye? Little injury, and she was still like ready to fight. I really liked her.
What about Marlene?
Yeah, Marlene brought it. And then I mean we got to give it.
Brought it.
I mean, obviously Joel.
I mean, come on, man. His biceps
and Tommy.
Huge.
Tommy looks great. Yeah. I love the duo. I'd love to see them wash a truck. I would watch them wash a truck.
Oh my god. Man, I've been seeing like oh my gosh, I saw this TikTok where Pedro Pascal was reacting to people calling him like a daddy.
Yeah.
It's really funny. I just thought it was really funny. Thank you, Chad, for the questions. We have 2 more and then we'll move on. But our next question is from Pshwag. Thank you, Pshwag Patrick from Spotlight Games. Y'all should follow them too. They're also doing some recap episodes if you want another perspective. But he said, what did y'all think about, and this is another question we get from somebody else too. What did y'all think about the change in the spores not being a thing for the infected?
I'll start off because I'll start off because earlier today, or even yesterday, I didn't really care about it. I was like, whatever. People are gonna complain. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. But after watching the first episode and thinking like how important that is to the game when you're playing, like going into these areas, it's sort of. And me and Audrey talked about it earlier. We were like, ultimately we decided we sort of wish they were still in the show. I'm not bitching and moaning about it. I don't care that much, but it does sort of give you in the game a sense of how dangerous the area is. Because like if there's a lot of spores, then there's some infected clickers that have been down there a long time, and they are literally on the walls. Like that's an area where you don't want to go because they have been living down there. They are one with the building at this point, and there's probably a lot of them down there. So it's sort of a way to gauge like how dangerous an area is. And, you know, honestly, do you need that in the show? No, but it does add it adds a layer of fear that makes you nervous. Like if you see spores, you're like, ooh, this is going to be a tough area to go through. So I am a little bummed about that, but I'm sure they will figure out ways to still keep us terrified of them. And then it's not a game, so there's not going to be a lot of those moments in the show. It's going to be more about the characters and their interactions. You're not going to be watching Joel and Ellie go through hallways and stuff for multiple hours.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that, like, to your point, it is important to the game, but I think that you're exactly right, and it's more important to the gameplay aspect of it. Which, kind of playing off of that, the next question was, how do you think it's transmitted since spores aren't in the show?
Oh, and I stole that thing I sent to you earlier, but I was on to it. Like, I picked up on that before I saw it on Reddit, by the way. I'll go ahead and say that much. So I was like, it's definitely something with the food. Because in the first episode, with the biscuits, the Adlers were trying to give biscuits away. And I thought biscuits and baking, and the fact that the grandma was eating the biscuit, and then like with the cookies, and she never eats the cookies. Like I was like, and I was already there. I'm like, it's something with the cookies or I didn't get to flour because I'm not a baker. I was about to say I'm not smart enough to make that connection, but I wasn't. I was like, there's something with the baking, okay? Something with the food over there.
Yeah.
Something with the food that they're eating over there. But there was a Reddit post that we found that I sent to Kayla. I don't know if you have it pulled up still.
Josh made a good point. Joel forgets to buy the stuff for the cake.
And the cake. Okay, so this was on Twitter, or on, someone posted this in the Last of Us HBO series subreddit. I'll quote equivalent shell. That's who posted this. And they're like, I rewatched the episode and I think people were infected by the flour through yeast, which was another type of fungus. Sarah didn't make the pancakes in the morning because she forgot the mix. Joel didn't eat the biscuits because he was on an Atkins diet. I don't remember that being. Did he say that?
He did.
I missed that. Yeah. I was like, did he say that? Okay, cool. Sarah didn't eat the cookies because they were raisin. And then Joel forgot the birthday cake. So very subtle hints, but basically it might be how they avoided the outbreak. So it's in the flour or the yeast or something.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, like, if you're thinking about it that way. Like, and I've totally forgot about the cake thing. Yeah, Josh said, yeah, sounds good, I'm sold.
Smart person on Reddit, thank you. But also, I was sort of almost there. I was like, there's something with the biscuits, okay?
And Sarah talks about when they're in the car on the way to this, when they're talking, she said, people are saying it's coming from the city. And so maybe they're talking about the stores in the city, potentially. And they talked about how they had been taking the grandma into the city for her doctor's appointments.
And then she was like, didn't you go recently, Dad? Did you go?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but I'm fine.
And it seems like she gets worried too, because I don't know, she said, oh, well, do you have to like go? I'm sure you have to go multiple times, right?
Yeah, she was like getting sort of obsessed. Like she really wanted to know how it was getting started.
Yeah, which is fair, because you could, and we already talked about the fact that she died, but like I love how they talk about in the after, like inside the episode, like they're trying to set it up like this is your protagonist and like you're gonna be following her. And I'm very curious to know from people who haven't played the game, who watched it, like,
and she's like
expect that,
the complete opposite to Ellie. Like,
Yeah,
and that's
the
it. Like,
complete
you
opposite.
see a difference. Like, I did want to point out, like, oh, we'll get to it. God, I'm about to start talking about it. Don't let me forget about what I was
That's
going to
all of
say.
our questions.
Okay, cool.
Did you want to talk about your favorite scene? Is that what you're about to talk about?
Well, it's not my favorite scene yet, but it was a scene that it is partly my favorite scene. But I thought it was interesting because, like, when Joel hits Miss Adler with the ridge, and Sarah's reaction to that was just like, she's super terrified, and she's like, you killed her, and like just not just freaked the fuck out about it.
Yeah.
And so so I thought it was interesting seeing her reaction to that, to Joel killing someone, was her reaction. And then later on, my favorite scene was actually when Joel went crazy on the guard and started punching him to death. And like his face, like if you pause on Pedro's face, there is so wicked. Just it's like is a wild looking look. Like he is.
It's a wild looking look.
It's a wild looking look. Okay, and you see Ellie behind him. He's like punching this guy, and Lee looks up, and like I didn't expect them to have Ellie so like obsessed with it, and like they even said in the after the episode, like excited by it. Like she was mesmerized, and it's almost like she couldn't get enough of watching him beat this guy. And like just to see, I thought it was interesting. We got that parallel of him defending his daughter when he was about to shoot Ellie and Tess, and then you get that parallel seeing her daughter's reaction to him killing someone, and then seeing Ellie's reaction was totally opposite. So
that's cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. And I like how they're setting up Ellie to be almost, they're going to be a pair that will ultimately look out for one another, but they will be each other's downfalls, possibly. And they're setting it up to be a pretty big, I think they're going to make Ellie someone we're just like, are you taking it a little bit too far there?
Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know, but they might be.
Who knows us? We know.
I just don't remember them doing that with the game, like off the, I remembered Ellie being this little shit and dressing like a sailor and like being, just ready to take care of herself, not giving a care about anybody else. But this is, it's another layer to Ellie in the show that really caught my eye with that. Like, she's not afraid to, enjoy killing. That's what I thought was a little scary.
That's cool. I did not expect that to be your favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay. Jared's new water bottle is really cute. Did you guys see that?
It's PlayStation water bottle. Yeah.
Okay. Well, a couple things that I wanted to share before I share my favorite scene. The intro is so cool.
Yeah.
I love the intro. It's very Game of Thrones-esque. The way that like you're kind of looking over the in the Game of Thrones, like the table, that thing. But it's really cool. The music is really good. It actually sounds similar to Game of Thrones, I feel like, kind of. I think we talked about that. But I love it. It's really good. What else? Scary. We talked about that a little bit, but that leads into my favorite scene, which is the runaway scene. When you are trying to escape the city and they're driving around in the car. We were talking, and Audrey made a good point, and she was saying like it seems like it was done in one shot, or it's at least like one continuous shot of different angles sometimes, but all three of them in the truck fleeing the city. And it's scary, it's tense, the music is getting you to feel a certain way. The different angles make you feel like you are in the car, the way that you have the view outside, and there's just people and destruction and panic. I think it really drives home like the setup for the show. Oh wow. Josh also said that was kind of awkward. There was a plane crash in that scene the same day a commercial plane crashed. Did not know about that. That's scary. That scene was also incredible. Like you can tell how much budget has been put into the show. Like it just looks so good. Everything just looks great. The sound is awesome. So that was my favorite scene, was that, just because I feel like it really like sets up the show well, and I think that it like visually is very interesting, and really gives you those feelings that I'm looking for. Because I was curious, like how it was going to elicit the same feelings, but would it elicit the responses as you did in the game, like playing it? How it would be translated into the TV show. And I think so far it's done really well.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, Sarah's death just as sad, if not more sad. Having to watch it like that. I've been talking to my mom, watched it. She has not played the game. And she was like, "Well, that was really sad." And I was like, "Yeah."
The whole show is gonna probably be sad. Sorry.
But it's so good though. Music's perfect. I'm trying to go through the rest of my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. You know, we get the frame by frame video game moments, like the exact same. And you're gonna hear that so many times. Take a shot.
Oh yeah, I can finally pull up that post from IGN that I pulled. Let's see.
Yeah, go ahead and show that again. Like especially like I thought the tunnel area where you're about to run into Marlene and Ellie, like when Tess and Joel are like going up through the tunnel, like getting to the building where they run into them. Like I feel like some of those were like literally frame by frame. So good. Jerica, I was making comments like when they go underneath the school bus, I was like, "Oh, you're going into a cutscene right now."
Yeah.
You like go into
yeah.
it, like,
wait
the
till
way
you
that
like see like they squeeze in between some a crack in the wall, and it's like there we go. About to load into the next area or cutscene.
Cutscene. But yeah, if you haven't played the game, I just think like looking at the comparisons is so fascinating. Like how well translated it all is baffling and like really cool to see.
Another one of my friends was actually texting me. It was a little we were both like a little bit bummed. Like we want to at the same time we want the same game. We want the same game that we are used to seeing. Luckily, the game is just so good. It's basically a movie anyways. So it's pretty easy to just use the source material. And they are taking already a little bit of some creative changes, that will hopefully tell more to the story. But I would not fight against them pushing it a little bit further, with the spores. Maybe that might have been a little too much. Some people might be freaking out about that, but just anything for more backstory, I'm fine with. As long as I don't want to subtract, but I definitely just want to add.
Josh makes a good point in the chat. I think there are, after some of this intro stuff, there's a lot of potential for the middle episodes to be very different from the game, and the end will probably be kind of similar though. I agree.
They will have to do. They would have to. Like it even proves with this first episode that they're gonna have to change some stuff. Like they changed some stuff from the game already, enough just to be able to. This was 85 minutes. It didn't, and they still didn't have enough time if they wanted to fit everything in from the game. So.
At the end, we were like, "No, where's the rest of it?"
It was a bummer.
But super excited for what's to come. I think that pretty much got to talk about everything that I wanted. There wasn't really anything I was disappointed in. Was there anything that you were disappointed in?
No, not at all.
I don't think so.
To me,
honestly,
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
it was everything I wanted plus some.
So good.
I'm so pleased with the actors and the actresses. They're great.
We didn't talk about how similar Tommy sounds to his voice actor.
Oh my god, what's his Gabriel Luna plays Tommy, and he I don't care if they look or sound like the characters from the game. I do not care. Something I don't care, but like that dude does sound like Tommy. Like, it freaked all of us out. We're like, whoa, what the heck? That is Tommy.
I forgot to mention the end is cool. How you get a little inside the episode with Neil Druckmann, and kind of like a deep dive, and you gotta get to see them filming some of the shots, and you get some interviews with the cast. So definitely stick around and listen to that part because I thought that was really cool that they add that on end. It seems like we're gonna get that every week, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, and they did like a look ahead. Because I would expect that you'll get like a preview into the next episode from here on out. But this first episode, they wanted you to see like, in the future for The Last of Us. And it had some tidbits from all the different episodes. I'm sure some parts should seem sort of familiar. Some might be closer to the end. And then if you don't know, you don't know. But some of us might be like, wow, that's really close to the end there.
Yeah.
Very shocking. They'd put in a few little scenes like that, but we don't know. We haven't seen
If it's
the
a little tease to us,
future episodes, so um,
Josh, that is a hot take about Tommy. That's upsetting.
What?
He said he does not like Tommy and his wife as characters.
Oh, like them, like in the game too?
I think that's what he means. Yeah.
Oh, they're great. God.
Hot take. Hot take. Hot take.
Josh.
It's okay. Opinions.
Oh.
You can be wrong.
I thought they were great. Anyways.
Yeah, I think that's all for me. I was very, very pleased.
It's like, yeah, just in general.
Yeah. I thought it was awesome. I think the runtime was perfect. I was like, dang, I should have known. I was like, dang, that's gonna be a little long. Nope. I can't believe we're only getting, I think it's 60 something minutes next time.
I think the next episode's like, it is shorter. And then I think the third episode is another longer one though.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after that, I do not know.
Yeah.
I need to see what's out there in the rumor mill so we can get prepared. But I think
definitely make sure.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think the last episode airs on March 9th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
that sounds right.
Yeah. So.
But definitely make sure to leave your questions when the episode airs. We're probably going to do this cadence. I don't know. We haven't decided if we're going to be able to go live every single time. We're going to try and see, but we'll at least have like video for each. The first episode where we talked about our hopes and dreams, our video version got destroyed because the power went out in the middle of our recording. But we'll at least have like a video of us talking about it. But yeah, we're gonna try to do like
keeps
Tuesday.
Going black. There it goes.
Oh,
it's
no.
back.
Is it getting infected?
Yeah. It's like little spores coming out of it. It's going in my ear.
No. But we're gonna have I think we're shooting for Tuesday uploads. So
yes.
The HBO show comes out on Sunday evenings. More than likely we'll record on Mondays and then have it up on Tuesdays.
That's the goal. Could be sooner. We never know. Depends on what kind of mood we're in and how energized we are. I will tell you, the next episode I'm really excited for. Probably going to have Joel, Ellie, and Tess going into downtown Boston, and I'm sure this will be the first episode that we'll actually see a clicker up front.
ClickerBait!
Yep, finally get to see that beautiful clicker and hear those beautiful sounds that terrify us. And they'll probably haunt your nightmares going forward.
Very excited for y'all to hear it.
I'm ready to see more of Ellie. I think Bella is definitely Ellie. It's not the same Ellie, but it's definitely an Ellie. It's Ellie. It's even Ellie more evolved. I think she crushed it. And
evolution.
Yeah. Ellie-lution. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I loved her portrayal of Ellie. I am a fan.
She does a good accent too.
Yeah.
You get to see her in an interview after, and you can tell that like her voice is way different.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's
alrighty.
Yeah, it's so good. I can't wait for next week.
Oh, we gotta come up with a clever sign off. If you guys have any ideas, let us know.
Well,
probably just gonna do the same as jkgames. We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Are y'all tired of us doing that yet?
Nah,
Are you?
they're fine with it.